What would make somebody in their 50s drive 6.5 hours, 3 states down to pick up video games? And the community of gamers is probably the number one thing that'll get you to go to a convention. And you got to get out of your comfort zone. I can remember the first time I made a decision to go to a video game convention. It wasn't an easy one because I was making a 4.5 hour trip by myself in a vehicle to stay alone in a hotel and to go around 30,000 people that were going to be at this video game convention. And I didn't know a single one of them, but it didn't stop me from going, and I do not regret making the decision to go to that convention. I can remember standing in line waiting to get into the convention, and I met good friends of mine, Dan and Amy, and we have formed a bond, and we've been going to this convention together for the past 3 years. And last year we decided to eat before the convention on the Friday night, and this year we decided we were going to eat and play. So what do? You go to Two Plumbers Arcade and Brewery, and you hit it up and do some pinball and some video games, and they have wood-fired pizza there, so you can eat a pizza and get a few brewskis. So it was a wonderful stop before the convention. And the morning of the convention, we got some rain overnight into the early morning hours, and it was freaking hot by the time I got there. And the heat index was 117 degrees, and the Greenfelder Recreation Center is air conditioned, and it just added to being a really humid day outside. But inside, it was so stinking comfortable. And years prior to it being here, they had it at one location. It was so cramped that it was pretty dang smelly, and they kind of leaned into it this year by throwing up some cans of deodorant. And Mo Game Con is an 8-hour convention, with the very first hour being only for the VIPs. So I snuck up top and I got an overview of the convention like after 11 o'clock when they opened up for everybody, and it surely was crowded. And being on the floor is a little bit different than being up in the bird's eye view.
Buy it! I'm trying. Buy it! I'm probably going to. He's adorable.
And I know these vendors are there to make money, man, but you know, I just want to thank them for all their hard work of setting this stuff up, getting it ready and presentable, and taking the time to talk to everybody as they came by. I know they are looking forward to this convention just as much as we are as consumers. And there was a couple times that I've seen the vendors break out and visit other vendors for stuff that they wanted for their collections, and they are just as much into Mo Game Con as we as attendees are. And usually when you go to one of these conventions, you make a list prior, and you kind of get in your mind what your budget is. You set your budget, and usually I bust my budget. This year I did not. I actually went home with cash in my pocket. I don't know if I should be ashamed of that, or if that should be a bragging point that I actually was a responsible adult. And the vending floor was full of video games, but there was also other things to be had, either arts and crafts, or you could buy some laser discs. I saw a box of freaking laser discs that they had there. And also, they also had Pokemon cards galore. You could find them all over the place. And I entered the Pokemon world this last year by picking up Pokopia and actually playing the Stern Pinball Machine Pokemon. And I thought this thing was pretty cool, man. It was some vape, store display that this guy created some labels for, made it up, and made it look like Nintendo. And this would be great to put some Game Boy games in there. I don't know if it lights up. I would throw some lights in that dang thing and 3D print some more shelves to kind of stack the games up a little more so you can see them. But what a freaking great idea that was. Mo Game Con is really affordable to attend. It's not that much, to go. If you pay the VIP ticket to get in an hour early, it's kind of, you're just supporting their convention and spending the extra money just to get in there before everybody else does. And they had a couple tournaments going on here, and Peter from Waves and Games decided he was going to try one out, and he jumped in, and he had a blast. He didn't win, but how would you win? You're playing one of the freaking developers of the game. I see the badge on him, and Peter, no fear, man. This guy is going to jump in there and have fun. And Peter's a pretty fun guy, so it is great to see him going out of his comfort zone to play some game that he has never played before in a tournament. And it's cool seeing these indie developers come out with some of these newer games that are very retro in the PC realm. But I'd like to see some other, tournaments going on. Let's get a Smash Brothers tournament going on, or maybe like an NES remix challenge going on with some of the younger kids and older kids of the convention. And I'm pretty sure that a bunch of us YouTubers would actually jump in and donate to a tournament such as this. So if anybody's interested, just reach out. Let's talk about it. Let's get something going for 2027. I can see a table like this set up and having a 65-inch TV on it, a Switch 2, and playing some Smash Brothers with probably about 8 controllers around it. Wouldn't that be freaking something?
7 to go. All right, FNAF. All right, bite of 87. What is the main food item served at Freddy's restaurant? That's pizza. Good job.
And I didn't get to spend a whole lot of time back in this corner, but this is where the Resident Evil tournament was going on, and I really didn't know how they were going to do this. Maybe something would be beneficial is putting out a YouTube video showing what the tournament's going to entail and how to play it, so people, before they get there, actually kind of know what's going on, and that might spur on a little bit more people to come and play this game. And if anybody watching this video sees this and was part of this at MoGameCon, write down below what you thought of it. I would be interested in knowing how that actually worked and if it was any fun. And there's Tom and Lacey from Do You Nerd, and they're looking through some Nintendo Power mags right there. And boy, I wanted to look through the PSM box myself, but I know if I would have found some PlayStation lid cover stickers, I would have been hooked and I would have walked away with a bunch of them. I never stuck them on any console, but they were always kind of cool to get. And one of the first things that I'm always looking for is 5200 games for the Atari 5200. And here's 2, and let's see what they're there. It is Star Raiders and Pac-Man, and I've got them. And it is getting harder and harder to collect for the Atari 5200 these days. And I usually get the VIP or the VIG package, just depends what convention I'm going to, what they call it. But that always lets you in an hour early. And, does it matter? Yeah, you can get to a lot of stuff that people can't get to during that golden hour of shopping. But it also allows the showrunners of the show to get that extra income in to get tables rented, chairs rented, anything that they need for expenses. It just adds into it. It's the way you can support the show itself by getting one of those VIP tickets. And I haven't talked to the showrunners of MoGameCon, but some of the other ones I've talked to was, telling me that during the pandemic, they lost a lot of their deposits because they weren't able to have the shows. So a lot of their disposable incomes for setup and for getting these shows already was gone, and it wasn't refundable. So, by buying these VIP tickets, the VIG tickets, any merch beforehand, you just help in making the show become a better show. And I zoomed in on those prices because I thought these prices were pretty good for box consoles, and even these 2 PS5s that are not being boxed. If you're wanting to support the physical games and you're wanting to play these old games 5 to 10 years from now, I think right now is the time to pick it up. These prices are getting outrageous in our big box retailers to buy this systems new. And at last year's convention, I joked around quite a bit about looking for Nintendo Switch 2 game key cards, and I found some in this pile right here, and I just don't consider them physical games. I know people argue me on that fact, but when you get into the EULAs and you see that you don't have ownership of these games, I just can't spend money on it. And I rather see what Nintendo's doing, and by being upfront and telling you that they're a game key card on the front, there's nothing deceptive about it. I think some of the retailers, by covering up the area that says that if it's a game key card or not, is pretty deceptive, because parents will go in there buying the games thinking that they're just regular games and that they don't need a download to play that game. And I'll get on my soapbox here for just a second. And all these games that you're seeing right now are all playable games. And when you get into the Xbox One and the Xbox Series X and S and the PS5, any of this new generation stuff, you really don't know if that game is completely on the disc or if you require to have an update or a download to play it. And it is deceptive to not be able to know that when you pick up the box to purchase that game. And just looking at all these flippin' Genesis games here, it just brings back the nostalgia of, pushing in your cartridge and playing right away, not having to do an update. And that cart was tested and ready to go. And I haven't started collecting any Nintendo Powers over the years, but I know a lot of people do. And man, they're just so fun to go back and look through these magazines. I love it when other YouTubers will revisit a Nintendo Power and go over and talk about it. And most of the magazines that I collected growing up was EGM, EGM2, PSM, original Xbox official magazine. The ones that had the sample disc in them. And the Dreamcast magazine was freaking awesome too. And I've always been a gamer. I've gamed since I've been 7 years old. And I really saved everything since the Sega Genesis. Everything that I bought, I've always bought a new console. I put the old one in a tote, and it's gone into storage. And, it's kept clean in the attic or down in the basement. And I hang on to that stuff. And after the pandemic hit, I got them all out just to play them again. And that's when I got invested into going to these conventions, because I started checking, YouTube out. And I was like, holy crap, there's video game conventions out there. So in the past 6 years that I've been going to these conventions, I have picked up a lot of stuff. And usually that first hour, I have something big in mind to go out and pick up. And this time I really didn't have that. I just kind of relaxed and kind of went with the flow. And I wasn't grabbing anything specific. I know one year that I put a Virtual Boy on my shopping list, and I hem-hawed about it, went back, and the stinking things are gone. And this year, there were a ton of Virtual Boys out on the floor. More than what I've seen in the past. I don't know if they had to do with the Nintendo Switch 2 coming out with a peripheral that was a Virtual Boy that you can play on the NSO. And I think it had a little something to do with it, but who knows? And if you attended Mo Game Con, what are some things that you picked up? And what are some things that you left behind that you wish you would have picked up but didn't? Write them in the comments down below. I'm looking forward to hearing from you. And a big shout out to Steve from the Primecade. Thanks for bringing your multi-cades, man. People really enjoyed sitting down and playing them for a little bit. And I headed back up to the bleachers one more time towards the end of the day to get another bird's eye view. And you can see towards the end of the day, it kind of clears out towards the end of the day, but I'm going to tell you what, that's a good time to go back down and really take another look, because I did find a few things later on in the day. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you haven't yet, like and subscribe. Mo Game Con 2026 pickups, and I just want to share what I got with you really briefly before I end this video. But first thing I got to do is I got to go in and get my t-shirts, because if you don't get those t-shirts right away at Mo Game Con, they are gone. You don't reserve them, you don't order them online. What they have there is it. And they had 2 t-shirts this year, and I wanted to make sure that I got both of them. Then they're with your VIP, you get one, and then you have to buy the other one for $25. So whatever left after the VIP come in, that's it. That's all that they're going to be available. So I had to make sure I'd got my t-shirts right away. So when I got in, it didn't take long. We were like the 4th and 5th person in line, and 6, because there's 3 of us, and we went in and got our t-shirts right away. So I got both of them, and I'll share here a little bit on what I got. And they were really great designs this year, and I always like the darker t-shirts versus the white ones. Those white ones really fade quicker, and they don't age well. So I don't like something that looks like it's a dirty white. I want something that's bright and white. So those will go in the trash as soon as they get that way. So I went and got those shirts, and I really liked both of them this year. They were great shirts. Last year, I loved the shirt. And after that, I went around scanning the stuff out. I'll hit the floor, and I'll try to walk every aisle really quick to see where things are at. And if anything jumps at me, I will stop and get it then. And one thing jumped out with me, and I have never seen one of these in all the years that I've been collecting. In all the years I've been going to conventions, I've never seen one out at a convention. So when I saw it, and it was a little dirty. It was a little ratted up. It had a tested sticker on it, and it was this bad boy right here. And this is the Atari 5200 VCS adapter. So it has the controller ports on the side. Here's the little selectors on the side. It's got the selectors up front. So you can actually put this in your 5200 and play your 2600 cartridges on your 5200. And this was a huge find for me because I have never seen one. And right away, somebody stopped me and asked me, "You pick anything up already?" I'm like, "Yeah, I've never seen anyone, one of these before in the wild." And everybody's like, "There's another one right over there." So I picked up the first one I saw, and I got the isopropyl alcohol out. I cleaned all the crevices. I got any crud out from the inside of it, and then where the writing was at. Took some Black Magic car, it's like a black renewer, and just lightly put it on it and rubbed it in, and this thing looks beautiful now. So I got myself a VCS adapter for the Atari 5200. So if I crap out not finding any 5200 games that I didn't have for the collection, dude, I'm still stoked. This was awesome find. So the next thing I go pick up, and this is during the golden hour, according to Tom from Do You Nerd, that first hour is the golden hour. And last year I picked up a Lynx at Mo Game Con. So this year he had some boxed games that were for the Lynx, and I picked up Road Blasters and I picked up Kicks for the Lynx. And I think they're just the cartridge in there. I don't think they're complete in the box whatsoever for my Atari Lynx collection. And it's kind of cool. It's something that I never bought back during the day, and I got a little bit more now. So then the same guy that sold me those told me he's got a huge Game Gear collection in, and he brings these 2 big boxes out that are just full of loose Game Gear games. So I scoured them, and I didn't have this one, so I picked up Ms. Pac-Man, which was great because I passed on Ms. Pac-Man for the Lynx because that was way too much money for me. It was exactly what it should have been on price charting, but I really wanted, I'd rather have something a little cheaper. So I picked this up for $15. And I also picked up James Pond 2 for the Game Gear. James Pond game was always fun. I never played the second one, but one that I have on the Sega Genesis, I got 2 more that I both have on the Sega Genesis, but didn't have on the Game Gear, was The Adventures of Batman and Robin. I picked that one up. Should hold these up closer to the camera. Sorry, guys. And I also picked up Captain America and the Avengers. And those are games that I have on the Genesis, but now I have them on the Game Gear as well. And I like to every time I see it. I didn't see a whole lot of Vectrex, at this convention, but I found one in a pile, and it was Scramble, and it was loose, and it was only $15. So even though I have a multi-cart with all these games on them, I still want to get physical games. So I picked this one up. So now I have a few more games for my Vectrex that are physical games and not on a multi-cart. Now, back in the day, I was an Atari collector, and when the NES came out, even though I was playing VS games and the Red Tent games that you see at a Pizza Hut, I was playing those. I really didn't own an NES, so every now and then I like to pick up some NES games, and I picked up 5 at this convention. One was DuckTales. So I picked me up a copy of DuckTales for the NES. I picked up a Bionic Commando. I never had that one, so I picked that one up as well. And I love classic arcade games. And I saw this one, and I knew I just needed to pick it up. I love freaking classic games, even though it wasn't on the systems that I played as a kid. I thought it'd be fun. And speak of Red Tent games, I can't believe I didn't have this one. At my Pizza Hut, we had Super Mario Brothers on one side of the Red Tent, and on the other side, we had another game that I played a crap ton. I play a crap ton of it now. I'll pull it out, but I guess I've been playing on emulation because I went the other day to look in my collection, and I didn't have a copy of Excite Bike. What a freaking moron. it's one of the games that I love. So I picked me up an Excite Bike to play that one. And I picked up one kind of spendy game, which is all right. And it was one that I picked up for the Lynx, but I picked up for the NES. It is Kicks for the NES. So that was my Nintendo NES pickups right there. And there's some classic games. Nothing major, no real bangers by any means, but they're games that I like to play. Picked up a couple of Super Nintendo games. One was Darius Twin. It's a shooter. And it's like a shmup. And then I picked up Gradius 3. And that's a shmup as well. I like to play a lot of shmups, so I wasn't a huge Super Nintendo collector. And I keep picking Super Nintendo games up, so my stack is growing over the years. For your Dreamcast fans, I had to pick this up. I had Bass Fishing for the Sega Dreamcast, and it came with that controller that you would actually use a controller to cast your lures out there to catch the fish, and you'd have to set the hook and everything. And I thought, I always saw it, but I never got it. So I picked up a really, really minty copy of Sega Marine Fishing. So Monday, I got a day off of work. It's kind of a holiday for us at the place that I work. So I know what I'm going to be doing. I'm going fishing Monday, baby. And I've been trying to pick up 3DS games, at these conventions for years. And this year I picked up one that I hardly ever see, and it's Shinobi. I think this one would look great on that little screen, and I think it'd be something that I can sit around outside and play as I'm eating out there with the family. And another one I picked up was River City Royal Rumble. And I love the River City games. The River City Girl games had got me into it. I really never played them before then. And then when I picked those up, I was like, man, I'm sold. I love these games. So I've been picking up River City games here and there, and Way Forward does a really good job on these games. This one is not a Way Forward game, but nevertheless, I'm excited to play another River City game. Another genre of games that I love to play that they don't make nowadays is light gun games. Oh man, I love them. I never owned a PS3 till a few years back when I decided that I was going to get one and start getting some of these older games. I was more of an Xbox 360 collector, and the price point of the PS3 just really set me off back then. But I've been picking up PS3 games lately, here and there, and I actually picked up Time Crisis, and it is Raising Storm. It comes with Time Crisis 4 and looks like Destructive Pirates. And I am going to play this game, and I got a Move controller, and I've got the two aim guns that you can use for it, and I've never hooked them up to play it. So I'm going to charge that sucker up, and that's going to be on my Sunday night, late night gameplay, is I'm going to play a little Time Crisis. And I had this in my hand at one point in the video that you saw earlier, and it came out as digital only, and I never got into it. I just hate it when you get these games that are just plain, just digital. And there's some points that I believe in digital, and there's some type of games I don't. And for some reason, I put this in that category, and I never picked it up. And I know it was a great game, but Limited Run did a copy of it, and I picked up Hi-Fi Rush. So I've got this complete in box. It's all on the disc. It's from Limited Run, and I can't wait to play this game and see what I was missing out on. I bought some Switch games, and one of them, actually, two of them are Limited Run. And somebody was telling me they were looking for a Panzer Dragoon. So when I went by the Switch table and I saw this upright like this, I was like, I've never played a Panzer Dragoon, not even the Dragoon Saga or anything like that. And I want to check it out. So I picked this bad boy up, and I'm going to play this on the Switch 2 a little bit later. And I picked up a really embarrassing game to pick up. It is probably a really crappy game. I couldn't imagine this getting a great rating. And it was, I think, only like $17 on price charting, and he gave it to me way less than that, but I picked up Transformers Battleground. So if somebody likes this and watching the video, and I said it was a crappy game, I'm sorry, I haven't played it yet. I will check it out and see if I like it or not. And then I walked by another table, and I walked by it several times, and I've got this game. I bought it on digital when it was a big package altogether, and it was really worth the money. And I thought, I really need to get this in a physical copy, and it's another limited run game. And I picked up, River City Girls Zero, and it is pretty dang cool. Even though it comes in this little plastic box that the reseller gave me. This thing is made to look like a freaking VHS. So the game is actually in the box. I've opened it up and looked at it to make sure it was there, but it's sold like it's an old VHS copy, and it's supposed to look a little bit like an older VHS copy, so it's got a little different look to it. But I thought that was cooler than heck, and I like those games. Like I said before, I love River City Girls, so I picked it up, and here I got a physical copy of that right now. I like to get Atari 2600 games to play on the Atari 2600 Plus or the 7800 Plus, and I picked up Reactor. And this is a misunderstood game that isn't too bad. It's actually kind of fun. So I picked up Reactor for the 2600, and it's CIB. So I'm really happy that I got that one. And then I found another one for the Atari 7800, and I wanted to play this one. So I picked up a copy of Donkey Kong for the 7800, and I'm going to play that on the 7800 Plus and see how it actually works. So you can never go wrong with little Donkey Kong, I don't think. So I'm all said and done at the game thing, and I know you're adding them up in your head right now, which you're not, but it's 24 of the 25 games. So I decide, I really have never had an NES in box. I've always bought them loose. I should go look at the NES. There's a lot of NES inexpensive ones in box, and I should go check them out. So I'm not a big in-box collector for that system. So I went to check it out, and I look down, and I see a CBS Interactive logo on the side of the box, and I really can't remember any CBS games being on the NES, and it just feels like it's out of place. So I look at the spine, and I see I'm looking at an Atari 5200 game. It was elusive for me the whole flipping time. 8 hours of being at this convention, and I never seen this once. I walked by it a million times. I scanned it with my eyeballs because I know I was at that vending table because I went back to look for NES games. And and here it was. Blueprint for the Atari 5200. I did not go home without an Atari 5200 cart. And I always try to expand that game system for odd personal reasons. But it's just a weird one that I like collecting for. And I'm not big on, they got to be complete. In fact, my boxes I always put on the shelf to look good. And then I move the carts over to where I've got all my 5200 games because I like to play it. I get that system out from time to time and will pull a stack of games down and play like I was, 12 or 13 years old, like when that system came out, and I'll play those games. So I was really excited that I didn't walk out empty-handed. I actually found an Atari 5200 cart and just had me excited. So what a good way to end my searching for 5200 cartridges at a convention was to pick one up at the very end, man. I could not believe that. Thanks to everybody that made Mo Game Con a success. I can't wait to go next year. Hope to see you guys next year at Mo Game Con. And remember, everybody, be nice to one another and game on.